Hello and welcome back to Past and Pearls. In today's episode, I will be doing a little bit of a reflection. So I will be looking at my finished 2025 year. So what did I make, what I didn't, how did it go in terms of my yarn map and all of the plans that I made for the year. So now let's get started. Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is my channel where I declare all of my passions, and on top of my list really is my knitting and crochet and crafting in general. So if you've been following me a few months ago, since the very beginning of my channel, you will have seen that last year I did a big mapping of my yarn stash, and I tried to understand what I have and what I can use and what I want to use. And then I tried to make that into a yearly plan for the year 2025. It was a little bit late when I started that. It was already kind of Q2. I think it was about probably April, May. So this year I definitely want to do that a little bit earlier. I'm in a better position to do that, as I don't need to do another mapping of my stash. Although I realize that there's a few things that I bought towards the end of 2025 that I haven't actually put on my Ravelry. So that is on my to-do list. That doesn't matter because it's minimal things and I won't be looking at exactly how big at the moment my stash is. I know it is still very big, and you will see in a second how I know that. But I definitely want to understand what happened last year and what I want to happen this year. So starting with looking into 2025. So I have done a whole yarn map plan in 2025. As part of that yarn map, I have made some plans every month from what I wanted to make, what I wanted to start, what I wanted to finish. And also I was writing down how much yarn I used for every project that I finished, and I compared every month that amount with the amount of whatever I purchased or received in that month. So I had yarn in and yarn out for every month. So I have now looked into the totals for the year, and I can tell you that the total yarn in for 2025 was 4,240 grams, so a little bit more than 4 kilos of yarn. And yarn out total in 2025 was 2,319, so a little bit more than 2 kilos. So the yarn balance for the year itself equals to 1,921 grams, which means that I acquired almost twice as much yarn than what I've used. What does that mean? Well, that's quite obvious, isn't it? It means that I wanted to start reducing my stash. It hasn't exactly happened. I reduced my stash, but at the same time, I've also grown it a little bit further. It is not a big deal, at least now I'm aware of that. I'm not worried about it. Actually, I do like to have some new yarn. I think there's a few things here that I've highlighted that worked for me and that didn't. So looking at what my projects were in 2025, I am actually feeling quite positive about all of it. In 2025, I actually, if I've written them all down, I do hope that they're all there, everything that I can think about, and I'm also looking at my notes and everything, and on my Ravelry page. I have 19 finished objects in 2025, which is a really good amount, of which 2 were jumpers, 3 were hats, and 2 were scarves. So I had 7, let's say, items of clothing. Then I had 1 blanket, which was actually a baby blanket, sheep baby blanket. And then I had 11 stuffed toys or accessories. So think smaller things like the mushroom that I made, the pumpkin, and then other like toys like the Minecraft sheep or zombie, or the hippo and the zebra that I made, and even the pocket dragon, or the Pinocchio, or the reindeer that I made in December. So this tells me that if I stop and reflect a little bit in what I made and how I felt making it, well, I can tell, did I acquire more yarn than I used? Yes. Was that a surprise for me? No. I've always known that even just with yarn advents, probably I would have broken even just acquiring that, and I acquired a little bit more than that. So yeah, that That's not a surprise for me, but I'm pleased that I try to contain my willingness of buying even more. Less usage than planned. Did I use less yarn than I planned? Well, somehow yes. If I look at the plan I made for the yarn map, um, but at the same time, I always knew that that plan was way too ambitious. I just wanted to put everything in there just to see how much of it I could do. Yes, I used a little bit less than planned. However, I did use a lot, and I did finish some big projects that I started even a previous year, like the poncho with sleeves that I made for my aunt. And some of those projects were using yarn that wasn't mine. So if I had used only my yarn, probably I would have used about at least a kilo more. So I would have almost broken even actually, because a poncho with sleeve, it was a massive jumper and I used a lot of yarn. Definitely good kilo was in there and none of that yarn was mine. And then I used the sheep blanket. A good half of that yarn was on mine. Like Petra gave it to me, so I didn't count it in the yarn that I used. So probably I used a little bit more yarn than I would have thought. So that's actually really good. Makes me feel very accomplished. I can say I did use a lot of chunkier yarn, talking about like the chenille for the blanket. Even the jumpers that I made, it was slightly chunkier yarn, so those also go a little bit more quickly. They help finishing more things, and I needed that speed element because most of them were actually gifts, so I just wanted to make them to give them away to gift. And that actually for me worked quite well. So definitely a learning from there will be having a good balance between chunkier projects and less chunky projects, so that I don't lose my motivation, because I see I'm still finishing things while I am still going and enjoying the mindless process of going through something that takes longer, with maybe a blanket in fingering yarn, which I've been making for a while. So going back to what worked in 2025, leveraging Ravelry for keeping track both of my projects, but also keeping track of the usage of my yarn stash. That has definitely worked, and I think it turned out to be much easier than I thought. So I've always used Ravelry, but I kind of always shied away from using it to keep track of the yarn, just because I thought it would be too much work. That I thought it would be too much work to enter it in there. However, having all of the yarn in Ravelry as part of my stash, and only working from stash obviously, means that whenever I set up a project, I can immediately select yarn from stash, and that makes it super easy at the end of the project to actually automatically calculate how much yarn I use. I don't even have to do the calculations myself. I could just enter how much I used in the project, and then Ravelry would just do the calculation of how much yarn I had left, keeping in mind how if that was already a leftover, I don't have to figure out how much I had left before starting, etc. So that worked really, really well, and it was much easier than I thought. I would definitely recommend it if you want to try and kind of try and figure out how much yarn you're using. So I'm using Ravelry to track rather than just showcase my projects. It definitely worked, and is I must admit, a very useful tool for that. Partially worked, giving myself objectives for a certain amount of time, like having gifts to make, or telling myself, oh, it's summer, so by July I want to start this type of project that I can do quickly and I can enjoy doing in summer, and then I can also enjoy using during summer. That also worked well for me. So I'll try to do more of that again in an easy way. So try not to make it a rule, but just an indication for me. Or if you fancy to cast on something new, this is what you can do, rather than me thinking about, and then when I start thinking, what should I do now? I always end up doing something massive that might be the wrong thing for that time. So having a little plan I can look at and pick things from there when I need, that I think that worked well. In terms of types of projects, what actually really worked well for me was being able to pick smaller projects also. It worked best this year. You can see from when I did the breakdown of what I actually finished. It was all of the smaller projects that I finished that worked very well for me, but it gave me the satisfaction of being able to take away some amounts from my total stash, but also I really enjoyed making them. That's why I want to continue on that way, so have a good balance somehow between bigger projects. I do feel like want to do again more blankets, more a couple of other garments for myself, but balancing it with a lot of other smaller makes, because at the moment they bring me joy, so that's something that actually worked very well for me. Other type of projects that were satisfying and worked well for my stash were also making baby things for friends and families, so like the baby blanket. It was actually really fun to make, and also because it's always fun colors and you don't have to worry too much about, oh, this is a little bit too bright, will I ever wear that, or will the person ever wear that. It is somehow something actually quite nice to use the brighter colors for baby garments or baby toys, baby blankets. So I suppose if you have the chance to do that and you love brighter colors, but you don't feel like making a garment for yourself in a bright color, that's a fantastic opportunity to use that type of yarn, and it makes you smile, like especially now it's January, this type of very grim and gray weather that we are having, that is actually something really joyful to do. In terms of habits that worked for me, as I already mentioned, I think that the monthly check-ins, especially in terms of the yarn map, really helped keep me grounded and understand how much I have that I can use, and that even a small purchase, or what seems to be a small purchase, actually adds quite a lot to my yarn stash. And I definitely now, I knew, but now I know for certain, I have the data to prove it, that I definitely can't knit and crochet, not even a third as fast as I can acquire yarn. I think that was a very good reality check, having those monthly updates, and it actually gives me a lot of sense of purpose and satisfaction being able, like those, I think I had 2 months where I could tell, oh, actually the balance this month is negative, which means I've actually used more yarn than I acquired. So I've actually taken out stuff of my stash rather than adding to it. I was so pleased. So that is definitely something that worked, and having that regular check-in really helps keeping me focused on that objective. So that I will definitely keep doing. And at the back of that, so trying to limit my yarn purchases, that's a little bit more difficult, but doing all of that, like the check-in and regularly going through my stash, even just on Ravelry, really helps make me realize how much I have, how much I can use, how much beautiful things I can make from all the yarn I already have, and help keeping me in check when I feel like, when I'm attracted by the shiny new yarn and shiny new project. So that also worked very, very well. So these are all things that worked, and I definitely want to carry on doing most of them. Now, looking at what didn't work quite so well, I have a few things, and these are kind of my learning. So things that I learned are areas for improvement where I can improve. So of the things that didn't work very well, of course, some of the goals were too ambitious. Some of the things, like timings that I had given myself, start something in July and finish it in August, that is not necessarily possible. I always knew they were too ambitious. Now I know they were probably even more ambitious than I originally thought. I just wanted to see how much I could do having an ambitious goal. And of course, life kind of gets in the way. So work and life and crafting, it all kind of needs to be balanced together. And unfortunately, I always think I have way more time than I actually do. So that was also quite a good reality check. So for this year, I'm definitely going to try and keep the goals, despite probably still keeping them ambitious again, because if I want a bit of flexibility, I want to be able to pick from different things, but maybe not overly ambitious, so to the point where they do not become stressful because it's way too much things that I'm not able to make. Another thing I learned is that I had so I didn't finish many big projects in the year. I never expected to finish too many big projects, but probably I finished way less than I thought. And I think I particularly had one big project that kind of made everything else stall, because at that point, for like almost 2 months, I barely did anything else because I just wanted to finish that one. And it kind of stopped me somehow. Like the days when I didn't feel like doing that, I kind of not punish myself because I didn't, but it wasn't a punishment. But I kind of told myself, no, I can't start that other thing I want to start because I really, really need to finish this. I'm so close to finishing. So the poncho with sleeves for my aunt, I didn't enjoy the pattern. I didn't enjoy the yarn. I didn't enjoy the color of the yarn because it was black. For about half of the year, really, almost, it really made the progress there really slow. And when I finished it, I really felt a massive weight lift up of my shoulders. It was, yeah, too much. Not because it was a big project, but because I didn't enjoy it. So that almost killed my knitting mojo. So I actually, it took me a while to get back to say I want to knit something. And yeah, so it took way too long. So the learning from there is, at least for 2026, to try and not over promise. And if I commit, which I definitely want to do, to make a big project or a big garment, it's going to be for me, and it's going to be one of the many projects that for which I already have the yarn and the pattern that are there in the cupboard and have been there for years, and I haven't had the chance to start them yet. So that is something that I will have lots of motivation to do. I will enjoy way more, and I'll be looking forward to finish it so that I can wear it. So something that really brings me joy, like 360 degrees. A consideration about times where the work, life commitment, and energy in general kind of got in the way of my plan. So probably I really thought, when I was planning ahead, well, I didn't consider that the poncho with sleeves would take so long and I would finish so late in the year, and I would actually drain my energy to finish it and drain my knitting mojo. And I also didn't consider the fact that after that I would feel the need to slow down a bit in terms of my crafting. And for autumn, I had planned actually after the summer, kind of a busy crafting autumn, when you start, slowing down, have longer nights, cozy up with your knitting or crocheting. I thought I would be really looking forward to spending more time to do that. And that wasn't actually the case. I was tired. I was super busy at work. I was busy with things happening in my life, and I actually had way, way less time and energy to do all the projects I wanted to do in autumn. I think my expectations for a particular season, maybe I need to be very careful with that this coming year. So kind of tone it down a little bit and maybe ramp it up if I feel I have extra time and energy. But I shouldn't ramp it up just for my expectations, just assess how it is going, and then, if anything, ramp it up after. So talking about 2026, so I've got lots of learnings, and I've said what I will be keeping doing, and I've said from the learning what I will be doing differently this year. As I mentioned, I want to, in my plan, I will be putting way less large projects. The large projects that I put are going to be for myself, and they're going to be something that I've really been looking forward to do for years. And with a yarn that I bought, or maybe at a yarn fair, that is something that I can't wait to put my hands on. So those are gonna be my bigger projects, and they're gonna be only a few of them. And also, I definitely do not want to be sidelined by the latest trend or shiny thing, unless it is in line with what I already have and what I already had in my mind of doing. And one thing that I've tried to do mostly for 2025, and I definitely want to keep doing, is buying with a project in mind. If I buy, so I still want to contain my buying, and if I buy something with a project in mind, that again has to be in line with what already is in my plan of things that I want to make. And talking again about garments, big projects, and small bits, I really want to keep focusing on the small bits. I'm looking forward to do all of my Toft projects that I have. have started or not even started from 2025, because that's something that really resonated with me, really worked for 2025 and brought me joy. So that I want to do more of that. I will be doing, like, one thing that I'm going to change about the yarn map, I'm going to do a seasonal planning, kind of seasonal loose planning, and I'm going to reassess it every season, like every 3 to 4 months rather than monthly. Every quarter, let's say, we'll have kind of an objective, and I will reassess how is it going after every quarter. So rather than a big plan, it's going to be more of a collection of ideas, and then I'm going to check time by time how that's going. So, and finally, what's in my 2026 plan? I haven't made the actual plan yet, because as I said, I want to make it more like quarterly, and I want to be able to review it easily. So I've just put some kind of bullet points of how I want to structure it this year, which I'm going to share with you now. So the purpose of my 2026 plan is to inspire myself and others without locking myself in. So to keep the flexibility, which in turn helps keeping the joy of making. So I kind of try to think about a tagline, like a overall intentional word or theme. And I think what I want to describe my crafting journey for this year is craft for joy. So knit, crochet, and more for joy. So for my personal enjoyment, which is how it should always be, and it is how it often is. However, I don't want things like the poncho to creep in this year, let's say that. So I'm very excited about certain type of projects this year. For example, I'm excited about making some baby things, because some baby things for friends and family, because they help me use my stash. They are joyful because I can use joyful colors, and they're often quick to make. I'm particularly excited by the fact that, so one very happy news that I received recently is that my cousin, one of my dear cousins, is expecting a baby for June, and it's a baby girl. And I'm particularly excited about this, because all of the babies that have been born in my life in the last few years have all been boys, which is amazing, is lovely. However, there are certain things that you can't really make for boys. I do have a fantastic pattern for a tutu. So when my best friend was pregnant now 9 years ago, I bought a book, which I'm going to show you now. And maybe we can go through it a little bit later in the year when we talk about my plans. And it's a beautiful book for many reasons, and it's what to expect when you're expecting. And one of the things that you make in that book is a tutu. It's like a mohair, like a fluffy tutu. And I've been wanting to make that ever since I bought the book. Every single time a friend of a family member told me they were pregnant, it was a boy, I was like, I can make the tutu now. And then, no, I can't. So there's a friend of Yanni and myself, and she's expecting a baby. For a long time, I thought it was a girl. No, I just found out it's a boy. He's going to be born actually in a couple of months. I'm actually working one of my projects in January. Actually, I don't want to spoiler my January podcast, but it's a blanket for this boy. And so finally, there's a girl in the family. So I'm very excited to make things with different color palette, and also some different shape of makes, and maybe some dolls later on. So I'm very excited about that, particularly for this year. So baby tutu. I'm very excited of making all of the Toft makes. I've got my dolls. I'm hoping later in the year to be able to buy more dolls from Toft, and then all of the workshops from last year, new workshops for this year. So yeah, all of the Toft makes make me very excited, and also especially the book, the fairy tale makes. Cottage Stories, I think it's called, book that is coming out from Toft that I have pre-ordered. I'm very excited to see that, and maybe use my leftover to make some of the little things in that book that I'm very excited about for the year. And I'm very much looking forward about using my advents, new and old. I'm using currently one from 2023, and I'm feeling really motivated about looking into more projects to do those, which again is another fun project which kind of brings together a longer term project with a quick satisfaction because of the nature of an advent, right? It's smaller skeins, it's like 20 or even 10 grams minis, so you see the quick turnaround in adding the new colors in. I want to focus on a couple of skills. So one, I did a tiny bit of intarsia color work last year when I was doing the hoodie for my friend, and I've always been kind of daunted by it, and I thought it is actually not any worse than doing stranded color work. So I'm actually looking forward to have maybe bigger intarsia projects that I can practice on. So I'd like to do that for myself to improve my skill set this year. And then changing crafts. I have a sewing machine since 2020 and I used it once. I found it really difficult to set up, figure out how to do it, how to use it, how to do it, what to do with it. I tried to watch a few YouTube videos and I found some that were working for me, some kind of self-learning. So it's a little bit more of a difficult learning curve, very steep learning curve. But I really want to get to properly do that, become confident using it this year, being able to make things for myself and others. And then how the yarn map will fit into this is going to be a tool that I want to leverage like I did last year, and I want to it had some uses that helped my journey, so I want that to keep doing that job for me this year. So I will definitely continue doing the yarn balance every month, and I will lean on the yarn map in a more quarterly basis for not dictating but helping me pick my projects for a quarter if I'm looking for inspiration. And then finally, the fairs. I've got a full list that I'm going to share with you either in the description box or in the comments of all of the fairs that I found this year. However, I want to share with you certainly the ones that I want to attend, possibly with Petra, hopefully if she's available, otherwise alone, but I'd rather go with Petra. So we're going to Unravel for sure now in February. Then we're gonna go in March, we're gonna go to the Stitch Festival at the Design Centre in Islington, North London. We've bought the tickets for that yesterday actually. Then I think in May or June, I think it's in May, we're considering going to the Big Flock, I think it's called, in Bristol. We've never been to Bristol and we've never been to the Big Flock, so we would like to try a different fair. And then we love the Summer Wool Festival, so that's at the end of July, so hopefully we will be able to go to that one. I definitely want to go again. Last year I went with Diani because Petra couldn't come, but hopefully she can come this year. Then we'd like to go to the Knit and Stitch show, as always, at the Alexandra Palace. Is one of our favorites in October. And then we wanted to try and go to Yarndale in Yorkshire, I think it is. And or I think it will have to be one of the two for this also, the Woolly Good Gathering in Edinburgh, which I think is in November. I think it is in November, it's later in the year. So those are the ones where we would like to go. And some of them, yeah, we still need to decide, but that's the plan. And I will be taking you with me as always. Then for what concerns Toft workshops, we really enjoyed the Christmas one at Warwick. So if they do another one at Warwick, we definitely want to go to that one. Will it be Christmas again or Halloween or at another point in the year? I don't care, I want to go. Then I think they were planning to do another one at the Natural History Museum in the main hall, and I definitely want to go there. I love the Natural History Museum, so definitely the one at the Natural History Museum. I'm not sure about going to Kew again. I went twice, it was pretty, it was nice. However, what I don't particularly enjoy about that is actually it is a bit uncomfortable as a venue. So I don't know. I'll see if Petra wants to go. I'll be happy to go with her. And I think that the February date is coming out now, which is really late. I'm definitely not going to that one because I don't have time to go in February. And anyways, it's now too close. I will have to take the day off and stuff like that. So no, we are not going to the February one. But whenever the Natural History Museum one comes out, I will have to keep an eye on that one. I definitely want to go to that one. So at least 2 workshops, maybe no more this year. because also of budgeting reasons. But yeah, I will want to go to the Warwick one and the natural history one, regardless of when they are during the year. And again, I'll take you with me. So I do hope that you are excited about the year ahead as I am. And I do hope that you will be following me along with the journey like you've done in 2025. And let's see what the year brings us, and let's see what makes I will be able to make. It's been really good to look back at what I made last year. So I really hope you enjoy also not just looking at what I've made, because you've seen them all in all of my podcasts. It's good to see what I've made, but it's also good to see how much I've made, what that meant for my stash reduction journey, what that meant for my more mindfully using my stash, more mindfully planning my stash, and more mindfully making things for myself and others. So I think I'm really happy that I started this journey, because it really helps me enjoy more what I'm making, and really being able to know that what I'm making is something I enjoy. If I don't stop and look back, I might not necessarily realize certain things. So realizing that the poncho with sleeves, I'm very happy I made it for my aunt, but that type of project, for many reasons, caused me to stop any progress with anything else for a big chunk of the year, and all really made me fatigued in terms of crafting, really made me not want to do much for a while. And I don't want that to happen, because this is my outlet. My crafting is my outlet. So I've got stress in my life in other ways. I've got a full-time job and then family in another country. So there's so much happening. I don't want my craft to stress me. So knowing that will help me more consciously avoid being in that situation again in the future, hopefully. Yeah, and I realizing how much I've enjoyed making little things or toys or stuffed things, which before I wasn't really sure it was something I liked, whereas now I'm really enjoying it. So that's really something very good about this retrospective also. Again, I do hope you enjoyed watching today's video. If you've enjoyed it, please consider subscribing if you are not a subscriber yet, and put your thumbs up to let me know that you enjoyed it, and let me know in the comments, have you made any plans for 2026? What's your plans for 2026? One make that you absolutely want to do this year, just let me know in the comments. As usual, if you want to get in touch with me, you can write me an email at pass.pearls@gmail.com. You can contact me on Instagram, where you can also follow me, pass.pearls, and then on Ravelry, I'm Laura Past Pearls. So yeah, this is all for today's video. Thank you very much for watching today. Thank you very much for following along with everything. And I really hope to see you in the next video. And I really hope that you're having a lovely day also. So thank you very much, and see you at the next one. Bye bye.